Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Hello, puppy. Thank you so much for joining Rosie and I tonight as we share stories about my first Lady Pug, who also happens to be a daddy's girl. So there's not much I can do about that, unfortunately. I can't win the hearts of all of my pugs all the time. Hello, Kim. Hello, Tonka. How are you? Hey, say hello. So as you can see, Rosie's decided that she wants to be an avid part of tonight's discussion about herself. And so she's quite happily, I'll see if I can dip the video just a little bit more. Hey, Rosie, is that you? Hello, Rachel. Hey, say hello, Rachel. Say hello. At the moment, she seems to want to. Thanks, Kim, for letting me know that we're coming through. Thank God for that. We seem to have gone over the top of the mountain of Facebook issues when it comes to tech. So thank God for that. Hey, Elvie, how are you? So good to see you. Thank you for joining. Hey, hello, Rosie. Hey, Rosie, say hello, Elvie. We had a busy weekend this weekend, so I'm not surprised that she's being a little bit grumbly. We went up to Ballarat to see my parents. So, and needless to say, Rosie and Charles got to eat a lot of food because my father is one of those people that just love to feed my pugs like constantly. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. The other thing, as everyone starts to hop on, we'll be announcing our first pug guest and parent who'll be joining us next Sunday, which is really exciting. And so please stay till the end where we'll share a picture of our cute little puggy that will be coming and having a chat with us next Sunday. And we'll also be talking looking very stunning in her pearls. Thank you. It's the pearl and jeweled collar. So this is the white one. She does prefer the white one over the black one. I don't know why. Go figure. And she's in her red cable knit hoodie as well. So this was basically what she was wearing today up in Ballarat. So as you can see, we haven't been home for very long. So we didn't even get to do a wardrobe change if that was what her ladyship wanted. Hey. But so be it. Sometimes we must adapt and overcome. Hey. So at the end of the live stream, we will have a chat and we'll let you know who's going to be joining us next week. But first off, tonight we're going to talk about my fourth pug, my lovely Lady Pug, who is sitting here, little Miss Rosie. Hey, what are you doing, puppy? So we originally got to know Rosie through playgroup when she'd come occasionally with her last family. And we got to know all of them through these get-togethers. And then Rosie became one of our original pug supermodels back in, I think our first photo shoot was at the end of 2017. She was a little shy little puggy and she found lots of pugs in close confines quite overwhelming, which meant that she'd jump up on the couch and she slept on the top of the back of the couch to get a bit of space during photo shoots. And as you would have seen in the opening video, where she, this particular time back when she first come to stay with us, she was perfectly balanced on my crossed legs. It's just amazing how she can manage to find any place to sleep. and do it so perfectly. I was amazed, but that was what she did. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the picture from the photo shoot when she was sleeping on the top of the couch. I know it's somewhere. It is somewhere. God knows I probably need to hunt a little bit harder, don't I, little puppy? That was how we first got to know Rosie a few years ago. And then in February last year, her mum rang me and asked me if I could look after her whilst she was moving house after a relationship breakdown. She was going to be a single mum to 3 primary age school children and needed to get things sorted and set up without having to worry about Rosie getting out and onto the street or getting lost or getting hurt. So at the time, we were still grieving for Winston. We'd only lost Winston about 4 weeks prior to that. And we were still trying to figure out how we were going to support Charles at that time when we got the call. And to be honest, initially we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it or not because we just wasn't sure if it was the right thing for Charles. So we sort of thought we'll do it on trial basis, and if we need to, we'll figure out an alternate place to stay if needs be. And so that was basically a complete useless worry, probably the best way to put it, because basically within days of Rosie coming to stay with us, Charles was smiling and snuggling up with her, and we just sort of went, wow, what were we worried about? But of course, so Rosie was meant to be crashing with us for about 2 weeks. And after the first week of seeing Charles so happy, Andrew and I just looked at each other and it dawned on us. I'm sure that you guys have probably already come to that same realisation as us. We now had another problem. Charles was really, really happy to have Rosie around. She has a really quiet nature and she's really pleasant, which complements Charles quite well. And then we were just sort of like, oh my God, what do we do when Rosie goes home? Because he's going to be all alone again and he's going to feel like we've just basically set him up to be abandoned all over again. So we then sort of started looking at each other going, oh my God, we're really going to have to step up finding him another friend, noting that we're only going to have Rosie for another week. So amazingly, after having had this initial conversation, the universe basically answered our question when we got a phone call from Rosie's mum telling me that she was having trouble settling in. I mean, she's a single mum, who wouldn't? She had a lot going on, and she didn't think that she'd be able to take care of Rosie like she needed to be. And would Andrew and I be okay with having her full time? So, which Andrew and I said that we were more than happy to have Rosie join our fur family, noting that basically Charles had already made that decision for us. He was so happy. There was no way in the world we were going to say that, no, you have to take her back, or no, we'll take her to pug rescue and we'll find another home. To us, it was just unheard of. And we basically said to her family that anytime they wanted to come and see Rosie, and I mean, we've always got photos of Rosie up online anyway, so they would see photos of her on the Pug Parties website and our playgroup website, so they'll always be able to see how wonderfully she's doing. What's going on, puppy? I think we're a bit tuckered out. We've had such a big weekend of eating and following my dad around the house. It's incredible. Now, to me, it takes a lot of guts to give up a cherished member of your family, your pug that you got, and you've realised that you can't look after. And the best thing is to, I've just realised I haven't put Rosie's in-stream photo up. So I thought, just in case Rosie fell asleep, I better have a photo of her ready to go. Takes a lot of guts to do that. And Andrew and I are really grateful that she chose us to be Rosie's next family, because Rosie has just been wonderful to have around the house. What I do know of Rosie's backstory come from her last pug mum. So they actually brought Rosie from a breeder who I subsequently discovered was based in New South Wales. And therefore not subject to the same laws as here in Victoria when it comes to breeding dogs and all those sort of things. So Rosie had been a breeding bitch. I mean, she is a really pretty pug, And I was amazed when her last mum said that Rosie had delivered 2 litters by the age of 18 months, which in my opinion, and I've never bred dogs, so it is really just my opinion. Oh, hello, Joanne, how are you? And hello to Willow too. It was too young. 2 litters by 18 months for a young pug is a lot. And I don't know if that start to life contributed to her aversion to being around a lot of pugs in small areas. But Andrew and I sort of thought we had to be very deliberate in her socialisation activities because of it. And so especially, like playgroup is loads of fun and is really good. Oh, hello, Lynn. Hello. Say, oh, look, Gerald and Oscar. Sorry, I keep stopping because I see everyone popping up and it's so lovely to see so many people. It's really nice. Thank you. So we're really deliberate about introducing her to playgroup because we were worried that it might just be too much for her. And so what her last mum had said was that Rosie's last delivery hadn't been great. So the breeder had decided that it was time to move her on, I believe were the words that were actually used, because she was no longer able to breed. And that's how Rosie came to live with her last family. What's going on, puppy? So in addition to Rosie's aversion to crowds, which is manageable, like you're careful as to how you do it, Rosie had also lost a few teeth early on, and her last mum had said that they believed it was sort of she didn't have great dental hygiene when she was with the breeder, and they also believed that carrying pups so young meant that the calcium had been leached out of her teeth. I don't know how true that is. That was just basically what was passed on. But to be honest, since Rosie's lived with us, she's lost another 9 teeth. So she now's lost 12 teeth at the age of 8. So Andrew and I are really careful about maintaining teeth health for what she's got left. And believe me, especially if you saw the young lady this morning, my dad gave both Charles and Rosie a bacon bone each. And once Charles had decided that he'd had enough of his bacon bone, little Miss here, who'd already gotten through hers, then decided that Charles's bacon bone looked pretty bloody good. And so she was going to have a go at that one too. So there's definitely nothing wrong with Rosie's appetite or the last 12 teeth that she's got at the moment. I think she's a bit grumpy with me because I wouldn't give her dinner tonight. She's eaten that much food. She doesn't need dinner, seriously. And so her last mum also mentioned that Rosie had panic attacks, which was not something I'd ever experienced with any of my pugs before or anybody else's pugs that I knew. So basically she would sit down and almost hyperventilate at the drop of a hat. That was sort of how I was explained. And so Andrew, we were super vigilant because we wanted to figure out what it was that was triggering these sort of attacks, the term. And there were a few times when she would pass out unexpectedly. So, and she'd vomit through her nose, which got worse as the weeks went by. And to be honest, absolutely freaked me and Andrew out. Because there didn't seem to be any discernible trigger. Have you woken up, puppy? Sorry, give me a second. I might just let the young lady over on this side so she can fall asleep on my arm. She's sort of, it's such a tough life being Rosie tonight. It is, puppy. And so it was multiple vet visits trying to figure out what the trigger was. And amazingly, and it still feels funny now. Our vet and our specialist had us film each of the attacks. So each one that we could, we would, I'd have to sit there and it felt really wrong. Like, I don't know if anybody else has had to do this with their pugs, but it felt really wrong. I'm sitting there with Rosie in my lap with my phone out to the side, trying to get the best angle to film as much of the hyperventilation and the sort of vomiting up through the nose so that we could figure out what it was that was causing them, because it was just so baffling. And of course, our greatest concern was asphyxiating from vomiting up through a nose. So it ended up being with all of the like multiple and all through lockdown, mind you, that the specialist decided that Rosie had to have surgery. She did have a constrained airway, and so the first thing that we needed to do was to basically give her the ability to breathe more, and then hopefully that would at least reduce the impact of the vomiting and the hyperventilation, and then hopefully also the asphyxiation. Hey, puppy, yeah, she didn't like it. And so we took her in and she had her airway surgery. Her larynx is not great, but unfortunately, as most people know who own pugs, there's not much they can do about a larynx that's already had a bit of damage or is already started collapse. We just have to keep monitoring it. But she had a few really good weeks, and I honestly thought we were hello puppy, yes. We were out of the woods, and then she had another attack. The upside was that it was definitely less severe than what they were like prior to the surgery, but they were still quite distressing for her, and, you know, completely understand that. And so then it was another round of vet visits and specialists and trials, and then you wouldn't believe it, we figured it out. Rosie gets reflux. So what would happen? And I have to admit, initially I looked at it, and then it was like the human reflux medication helped sort of dampen it down a bit. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this before with their pugs, but I've subsequently discovered it happens quite a lot in French bulldogs. But basically, if she eats too quickly, and she's a piggy puggy, I can tell you that much. And yes, she has a slow eater bowl to try and stop her from eating so much. But basically, when she gets the reflux after eating too quickly, she'll normally sort of have a little bit of burp out of her mouth, but sometimes she just doesn't. So the vet says it misses the wrong hole and then comes out a nose, and then there's obviously a little bit of regurgitation that comes up with it, which then causes her to panic and then causes to start hyperventilating. So the interesting thing is, it's so funny now. The airway surgery definitely has improved her quality of life, and we're really glad that we did it. And to be honest, the reflux is just something that we really manage. And so now we have a sort of a routine for her meals and for Charles's meals. They basically get the same, so that it reduces the occurrence of it happening. And then if for whatever reason, to be honest, I'm surprised she didn't have one today, but when she piggies down on her meal and she has a little bit of a burp that then causes her to vomit out through her nose, we've now figured out that we just burp her like a baby. So we plonk her on our lap, so she's still comfortable and she realizes that she's safe. And then we just sort of give her a little bit of a pat on the back or on her chest and sort of help the excess gas get out. And I'd just like to confirm that currently hasn't puked on me. And fingers crossed won't. There's nothing worse than puppy puke, really. But the upside is sort of what we've found is it does sort of help her get that little bit of excess gas out. And it also, what we found is that she calms down a lot quicker. Like, I'm amazed, like her attacks when she first come to live with us last year would go for an hour. And now we're sort of down to about 20 minutes. And she had a little bit of an episode during the week, and it was the first time we'd had one with her for a couple of months. So I have to admit, thank God, like it's like every pug that comes to live with us, you've got to take those first few months to figure it all out. But I think we finally got the Rosie process down. And the best thing about it is that she's actually become more sociable at playgroup. So we don't know if it was her teeth that were that were causing her to be a little bit skittish around other pugs, or if it was the reflux. To be honest, it could have been a multitude of things. But it's so funny. She now lets Auntie Lynn and Auntie Linda pick her up for a cuddle. So as much as Charles gets a bit grumpy about that, because Charles always believes that that's his thing that he gets with Auntie Lynn and Linda, but doesn't matter. So she now actually lets people cuddle up, which is really, really good. And, of course, Auntie Lynn is on tonight with Gerald and Oscar, which is wonderful. So I'm sure Lynn's probably nodding her head right about now. So, and Rosie has decided to go to sleep. So the luck of being a pug supermodel, I tell you. So as I mentioned last week, Charles is a bit of a mummy's boy until Poppy shows up, and then I'm pretty much dead to him. So for the last 2 days that we've been up with my parents, I've pretty much been dropped like a hot potato. And I can say, so Rosie's only met my parents. So this weekend just gone was the second time that they'd met. But I can say Rosie has shined to Dad a lot more this time, and I suspect it was the bacon bones this morning. But to be honest, Rosie is a daddy's girl. Absolute daddy's girl through and through. And privately, I think Andrew loves it. So all of our pugs have been mummy's boys more than daddy's, which Andrew has been okay with, since I generally do most of the pug stuff, as he calls it. He still feeds them, still takes them to playgroup and grooming and the vet and all that sort of stuff. But generally speaking, my schedule allows me the flexibility to do it. And so it's really, really nice to see how much Rosie just adores Andrew. Like when she hears the front door, we've got an electronic keypaddy thing. When she hears the beeping and the front door open, I tell you what, even if I've been home working from home all day, she drops me like a hot potato. And she is barreling out of the lounge room, down the passageway, to say hello to Dad. Like, I should be offended, seriously should be offended. But to be honest, you know, I can't deny them the love. And she'll wait for him to sit on the couch, and then she'll kind of like wander over and sit at his feet deliberately. It's like, I'd love to be able to film it, but Andrew won't let me. And she will literally look up at him and bat her puggy eyes at him, almost saying something like, Dad, can I come up there with you? Or, Dad, can I have some of your chippies? And, of course, Andrew always does that. No, you can't. Dad's having dinner, or Dad's doing this, or whatever else. Whilst he's also leaning down and giving her a pat and a scratch, like, okay, then you can come up. And then you should see the look on her face. It's just like she jumps up on the couch and like she's just sold. So, and then of course, amazingly enough, even if it's me who lets Charles and Rosie up on the couch first, because we sort of have a rule, they're not on the couch when we're not there. And it's more because of Charles than Rosie, because Charles, he's so old, he needs to be picked up to be put on the couch and put down. He won't even use the ramp anymore. So it's more so for Charles than Rosie. But we try to sort of keep one rule for both pugs. So when I get them up, it is amazing. Like, I'm the one that got both of them up on the couch. And she will walk over to Andrew, plonk her butt next to him and turn her back to me. And look up at him like, you know, he was like the best dad ever. And then, of course, Andrew sort of gives her a cuddle and then tells me that I shouldn't be encouraging the pugs to blackmail us all the time. And you know, like the pugs need boundaries and all that usual masculine, you know, like I'm not the one encouraging the pugs to do these things. And, of course, I just look at him and go, right. And I actually think it's the reason why he won't let me take a photo or a video of that point when she's looking up at him with a little puggy dog eyes, and just sort of like basically bribing him, to be honest. And I think he wants to maintain this veneer of being the responsible human in the house that's not swayed by puggy bribery. But I tell you what, one day I am going to get that photo. I will figure out a way to secret a camera somewhere in the lounge room, so that I can get that exact moment where his heart melts and she knows that she's got Dad twisted around a paw. I tell you what. So it's amazing when, as I was mentioning before, Rosie had the surgery and she'd had a bit of a damage to her larynx. What the surgeon had said afterwards, that because she had the damage, but there was more air passing over her larynx, that she was going to be a little bit more grumbly. And I don't know if you can hear her. Of course, she stops snoring now. But I have to admit, the pre-surgery Rosie and the post-surgery Rosie is definitely, we've definitely got a more vocal young lady, let's say. Charles just barks, Rosie grumbles, and so you've got to decipher the grumbles as to which grumble is the one that's, you know, I'm not happy with you, or why don't I get this, or whatever else. So that's actually probably the one thing that Andrew and I are enjoying the most now. But like during lockdown last year, obviously we're all stuck at home and having to do meetings, copious amounts of meetings online. And so what I would do is I used to have a bit of a timer, and I'd allow Charles and Rosie to sleep on my lap for the equal amount of time. No pug can have more than the other one, as you can imagine. And I'd usually do it when I knew that I wasn't running the meeting, or I didn't need to write notes or anything else like that, because it just basically meant like what she's doing now. I still had one hand available for a mouse, but the other hand could be there for chin resting support, let's say. And so this one particular occasion, I had a really late meeting with some international people and some local people. And they'd given a presentation, and basically we had to give the feedback straight away at the end of the presentation. And Rosie'd been lying on my lap for most of the presentation, and I can imagine for a pug it was pretty boring, especially when you're not talking about them, let's face it. And so she'd well and truly fallen asleep by the time we'd gotten to the feedback part of the presentation, and she'd started to snore. Like at the moment, she's just sort of a bit snoozy. But by this point in time, she was loud, like really loud. And it wasn't until, and I think I'm so accustomed to hearing it, like we all are when it comes to being pug parents. I had a headset on, and I think the vicinity of her head to the location of the microphone on my headset basically meant that her snoring stopped the conversation. And then the person who was leading the conversation then said, "Are we boring you, Donna?" Which it then dawned on me that Rosie's snoring had basically stopped everyone talking. And I thought, thank God my video's not on. So I then thought, no, I've got to turn the video on so people can see that it's actually not me that's snoring. And so I turned the video on, and although it was slightly funny and very embarrassing at the time, I then had to explain that my pug found the meeting boring, and that everyone was lucky that you know, this was basically her way of letting everyone know, as opposed to barking. And thankfully, nobody got offended, thank God, and everyone laughed, and it did actually sort of at least break the conversation a little bit and move things on. But since then, I've been very conscious of when I decide to do online meetings, and Rosie is the one who's asleep on my lap for that. I'd love to, Willow loves your sexy tutu, Rosie. Thank you, Joe. That is lovely. Thank you. It's actually one of my favourite outfits on Rosie, which was I was going to get to. So you've absolutely got us there. The tutu is amazing. Now, one of the favourite activities I love to, and you've probably seen our social media account before. Oh, sorry, I've just got to pop up on my screen. I just need to get that out of the way. One of the favourite pastimes that Rosie, Charles and I love to do is we go to our local cafe for a snacky or lunch. And we're really lucky because Salt is paw friendly, both inside and outside. And the staff love seeing Charles and Rosie. So, and normally when we're going over there for lunch, that means chippies. As I mentioned before, if Andrew's ever having chippies and he's sitting on the lounge, Rosie is over there like white on rice, and it's just incredible. She will basically jump up on the side of the chair, and then she'll rest her head between her paws like, "You're going to share those chippies with me, aren't you, Dad?" Like, to which he just sort of says, "What do you want right back?" And of course, she just looks at him as like, "Chippies, of course." And she cocks a little head and everything. And needless to say, she gets the chippies. So yeah, don't tell me that she doesn't have him twisted around his paw. But whenever we go to Salt, obviously, they do like a kid-size cup of chips, which is a perfect size for Rosie and Charles. And she is so funny to watch because she knows that if we sit down at the table, I'm going to order this cup of chips for them. And they'll usually be in the puggy buggy because it's sort of easier to control them, and they can sort of nod off if they're getting a bit bored while they're waiting for said chippies, but not Rosie. Like, she watches this magical hole in the wall where, and I say this with inverted commas, her chippies appear from as though they're just like, it's just magic. And she will continue to stare at this serving area until she sees the cup of chippies being transported to her by the human that's just spent the last 5 minutes telling her how adorable it is. And it's just amazing because I'd just like to say, I need Joanne, thank you. Oh no. Okay. So everyone, Joanne just put a comment in that Willow's asleep next to her and she's snoring really loudly. Completely understand the need for earmuffs, Joanne. So yeah, for Rosie, when she sees these chippies coming, she is no longer that adorable little pug that you can see asleep on my lap or in that picture goes. She is a chippy demon. And I am sure that all of you guys, your pugs have a chippy version of whatever it is that your pug turns into. My God. And she gets really cranky when she realizes that she has to wait for the chippies to cool down enough so that they can eat them. And then she gets doubly cranky when she realizes that she's actually got to share her chippies with Charles. Like, it is amazing. The only thing that placates her is the fact that because of sort of where they're sitting in the puggy buggy, I break the chippy in half and they each get a half each, and I'm basically hand feeding them. Like, you can't get more spoiled than that, to be brutally honest. Like, oh my God, how spoiled can you possibly be than having a human hand feed every one of the chippies to you? Just unbelievable. Yes, Gerald and his chippies, never going to happen. Like, Gerald won't wait till they're cool, everyone. He goes in. It's incredible. So as you can imagine, this is like, and if I don't get the chippies in a consistent enough feeding pace, she will grumble, and then Charles will basically take that as the trigger to start barking. And so everybody in the cafe then look at us as though I'm torturing my pugs because I aren't feeding them fast enough. Like, I can only imagine what everybody else is like. Hey, puppy. So yes, not even going to acknowledge the fact that I'm too slow with chippy feeding. So possibly because they didn't get chippies this weekend, but to be honest, what my dad fed them, they don't need any more chippies. Oh, no. And so to close out, I was just going to mention, like I sort of said quickly before, when someone said something about the tutu, I've gone completely. Joanne said about the tutu. I wanted to end tonight's session like I did last week when I talked about Charles's outfit, what my favourite outfit is for Charles, because obviously Pug Parties is a pug clothing and apparel store, and one of the things I love is dressing my pugs. And so Rosie's outfit, as you can see in the picture tonight, I love dressing Rosie in tutus. And the thing that I love about tutus is that they can be worn with a harness or with a T-shirt or a jumper or by themselves. And so for Rosie, she actually really enjoys wearing them with harnesses. And I think she looks absolutely adorable. She can really rock a tutu like no other pug. And of course, I say that from the perspective that she's my pug. And so I'm always going to think that. And as you can see by her face in this picture, this was she'd literally gotten a massive pat from a random stranger on our walk. This was a couple of months ago now. It was actually during summertime, because they thought that she just looked so cute in her tutu. So it's just amazing, hey? Whereas obviously tonight we've got to keep warm. And so snoring and sleeping on mum's lap is the best place to go. So thank you so much to everyone who's joined and said hello tonight. I really do appreciate you joining us. Now, the great thing is we're at the end of the of tonight's session, and so I get to announce, because over the last 5 weeks I've spoken about what it's like to be a pug mum, and I've spoken about my 4 pugs, with Rosie being my last pug. Who can believe she's only lived with us for about 14 or 15 months, and she's already had such a huge impact on our lives. So the great thing is as I said last week, we're opening up Livin the Pug Life to everyone. And so what we really want to do is have everybody else share their particular pug life stories. And so next Sunday, I am really happy and really proud. I just need to hide Rosie's photo because I'm going to bring up the photo of next week's puggy, our guest puggy. She is an adorable little pug called Agatha, and her mum is called Rachel. And they were on tonight. I'm assuming that Rachel still is, that she NBN didn't drop out. I hope not. And so the wonderful thing is the next instalment from now on, although there will be some Sunday nights when I'll be talking about stuff about my pugs, the intention is to have as many of our pug friends come and share stories about living their pug life. Oh, yes. Hello, Rachel. Thank you so much. So next Sunday night, I invite you to come and join us. Tell your friends. Share the post, please. Please share it with as many people as possible, because what we basically want is to have as many of you come and join us on Sunday so that you can then see what the process is, which is pretty simple. It's just a pug parent talking about their pug. So easy, so much fun. And as Rachel has already found, probably the toughest thing is figuring out which stories to share about beautiful little Agatha. She is such an adorable little pug. I know that everybody is absolutely going to love her. So please join us next Sunday. There will be a photo montage exactly like we've done every night for the last 4 weeks with my pugs. So you'll get to see a load of pictures of Agatha before you actually get to meet her in person on the live stream, which is absolutely wonderful. And then Rachel's going to share some stories with us. Now, the wonderful thing is this is open to anyone who wants to talk about their pug. Please send me an email at Haylo, Haylo, @pugparties.com. Actually, before I forget, what I will do is because I do have it up on my screen here, so my little reminder, I will put it in the comments section right now. That'll pop up in a second. So send me an email saying, hey, Donna, hey, Charles, hi, Rosie, I really want to come and have a chat with you on a Sunday night. And basically we'll be in contact with you, and we'll get everything set up. It's really simple. You can send us a direct message, or you can pop a comment in the comments section below. Everyone is welcome. If you know other pug parents that would love to talk about their pugs, then please share this with them and tell them to come and join us. It's absolutely wonderful. We've really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait for next Sunday when we talk to Rachel and Agatha. We do have a couple more puggies lined up for the subsequent weeks, but we want as many as we can possibly squeeze in between now and the end of the year. So, and it's literally just come and have a chat. That's really what we want to do. So my last request, or my last thing to do for the night is to announce our live stream giveaway winner. And I'm going to say thank you so much to Joanne, who said so many lovely things about Rosie and so many comments. Joanne, you are the lucky winner of tonight's Pug Party's $20 gift card voucher. It's an e-gift card. So, Joe, if you can, please send us an email so we've got your email address and we can send it straight back to you. And you can buy anything you like and use the $20. And all for you and Willow just coming and joining us for the evening and saying hello, which is really wonderful. Thank you so much. And anyone else, as I said, please share the info. These videos do come up in the stream, so you can come back and watch them again. So like for Rachel next week, she and Agatha will be able to watch back their live stream after they do it next Sunday, and they can see all the cute pictures and the wonderful things that are said. So everyone, thank you so much for tonight. It's been wonderful talking with you personally over the last 5 weeks. I've really enjoyed it. I probably enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, which is wonderful. And so I'm more so looking forward to every Sunday from now on, because it's less talking about me, even though the puggies probably wish we could talk about them more, and more talking to you and about you and your pugs. So please, I'd really, really love to have as many as possible. So have a wonderful night, puppies. Puggies, I should say. Well, my puggies are my puppies, so there you go. Have a wonderful night. I cannot wait to catch you next Sunday, and please join us when we get to meet Agatha and Rachel. See you until next time. Bye. Say bye, puppy. We're fast asleep. Bye.